Hi, everybody. It's still August 26, 2021. Look at this.
The COVID vaccine.
No, you need to come talk to me.
It's fine, honey.
Okay, she's not going to be treated.
Mom.
Yeah, she just walked away from me.
The doctor?
Yeah. After they just diagnosed my son with an infection, they're refusing to give him medication.
Because that's not policy. No, I'm sorry, but I am the doctor here. This is our policy, and if you're listed part-time, she was not aware, so she needs to leave.
Is she not a doctor?
She's a nurse practitioner. You can leave now without your phone.
Excuse me.
That is part, I can confiscate it. Should I call 911?
You don't need to grab my stuff.
Then please walk out. Kathy, can you please call security?
So what you're telling me is my son has an infection,
Can you please call
and
911?
you're unwilling to treat him?
What we've asked for, and now she's videotaping everything and basically slanderously under my name.
Oh, I will. I will give this to whoever needs.
Unvaccinated. Get out. That's how you treat people who are unvaccinated. Oh, life is going to get very, very, very difficult for the unvaccinated. This is exactly what they want. And these people who are bona fide mentally ill will make your life hell. How many politicians have been caught lying through their teeth and Americans do nothing? New Jersey governor wants to be reelected, so he's not going to say anything about mandating anything until he gets reelected.
Lo va a hacer, pero no podía hacerlo antes de la elección.
The independent deciders would not vote for him if he did the banding.
Because they're into all that shit. My rights, my shit.
Once you have a win, it's like, all right, guns blazing, like who cares? I mean, let's do the mandates, let's do this, the X, Y.
Project Veritas has obtained hidden camera recordings inside Governor Phil Murphy's campaign, including from a senior advisor who admits to hiding information from voters until after the election in order to appeal to undecided and moderate voters.
Pero, ¿cómo así los mandates?
La vaccine mandates. Como California, que está el mandato que todo el mundo tiene que tener la vacuna.
Lo va a hacer, pero no podía hacerlo antes de la elección.
Exacto. Porque si no se tira todo
lo
el mundo.
independent y lo undecided.
The independent deciders would not vote for him if he did the banding.
Because they're into all that shit. My rights, my shit.
You know, this is one of the problems with immigrants who come into a country from another country, don't have the same values, don't have the same traditions, don't have the same culture, don't have the same constitution. Well, it's true for Americans as well. Okay, but they don't give a shit about what Americans are supposed to care about. All right. Yeah, they're into their rights, my shit, my rights. Wow. This woman should be kicked out of office immediately. She won't be. New Jerseyites, they will not care. Because I've got my brainwashed mind and I'm going to vote for Murphy because that's what I do. Look, oh my God, this has been going on forever. Ever. Nobody gets held accountable for anything in our country. We're lied to all the time. And who cares? People will go out. If you showed this to every resident in New Jersey, those who plan on voting for Murphy will go out and vote for Murphy, not even caring that this guy is concealing what he's going to do because he wants to get the votes. So he's not going to say anything now. He will when he gets the votes. That means you have a governor who has no moral core. Doesn't that matter? Does that matter to you? That Governor Inslee, Washington State, to mandate for all private businesses. Now, Washingtonians, you have a big problem. And we're all going to face the same problem. But some states are going faster than others, and Washington, you're going faster. So, you got a tyrant. You have a dictator. Washington Department of Labor and Industries filed an emergency rulemaking package last week extending emergency powers to Democratic Governor Inslee, Jay Inslee. This package, which is an extension of current mandates, grants Inslee the ability to enforce mandates on all private businesses in the state of Washington. This mandate, this is what Jim Walsh and Jesse Young, their State House representatives, said. They released a statement saying, this mandate from LNI, the Labor and Industries Agency, I guess, yeah, it's a Department of, okay, a government agency gets to file an emergency rulemaking package for something's very wrong here. Americans, you need to educate yourself on how government is supposed to be working, and you will then see, no government operates the way it should. Local, state, federal. So the LNI department, demonstrated a complete lack of transparency, which dilutes public trust in our government and fails to show the agency's good faith in promulgating the rule. The reality is this move by LNI is a blank check for the agency to enforce any of the governor's mandates or edicts on private employers. It's not just a mandate for the private employers, but it's a mandate for all private employees. So when you think about that mandate that already was instituted on all public employees, the firefighters, the police, the healthcare workers, and caregivers, and, now it's on private employees. Wow. So if you don't want to get, that in your arm, you think you can fall back on private employment now in Washington? You can't. There's no place that you can go unless you work for yourself. Then you would be a private employer. Work under the table? I guess you could move to, that state that the Southern Poverty Law Center said was the #1 state for hate groups. Montana. Yeah, I bookmarked that article and didn't bring it up. Yeah, Montana is the #1 per capita for hate groups. Okay, so Washingtonians who don't want to get that in your arm, you can always just fly across, 2 borders. Jump across Idaho, go into Montana. Good luck finding work there. But at least they don't have this kind of tyranny taking place in Montana right now. All right. I was listening to, I think I still have it up. Do I have it up? Yes. Vanessa, Melbourne. the video that she posted today, well, we are in serious trouble. What is she talking about? Dan Andrews, the dictator in Victoria. Very similar to what is happening in Washington right now. What they're facing in Australia, you're facing in Washington.
I guess my message is that this is not about whether you're jabbed or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a CV denier or a CV, like, this is all irrelevant. This is about giving somebody who's already abused power and has lied for 20 months irreversible power, okay? It's fucking terrifying, guys. The Queen was in hospital. Look, I agree, Shirley. I don't think she actually had them. You know, there's no way. There's absolutely no way she would have had them. They also want to disarm the population too. I should be a leader. I know. Look, I wish I had arms, I tell you, right. I mean, honestly, you know, they managed to take ours. You know, this country, we're just so complacent, and we have a really unhealthy trust in the government, right?
And it's not just Australians, because Americans, yeah. Oh, Americans, the exceptional, morally superior people of the world, seem to have an unhealthy trust in government and seem to be very frightened to even question authority today. What's happening in Washington is terrifying, just like what's happening in Melbourne. Dan Andrews in Victoria deciding, well, I now am going to be the dictator of Victoria. Passed legislation giving him all power. That's what that Department of Labor and Industries is doing for this guy who has lied for 20 months. What? Americans, what's happening in Australia is happening here. And in fact, if you just go up north, across that border, only if you're vaccinated, and then turn right, you will hit here.
Censorship. Saskatchewan is often described as the land of living skies. I'm wondering if right now a better label might be Land of Watchful Eyes. That might sound a little cheesy, but hear me out. Recently, the Prairie Province made headlines over the creation of a COVID enforcement team to assist in the enforcement and transportation of people who defied COVID-19 related public health orders. Transportation to where, you ask? Why, a secure isolation facility, of course. And as a bonus, the government also has a handy online reporting system for citizens to report either individuals or businesses in non-compliance. For hall monitor and bully types everywhere, this is your time to shine. Isolation centers across the province of Saskatchewan have been used for several months to house people who need a place to self-isolate due to COVID-19. For the most part, this is voluntary, although there are people who have been detained. However, the Saskatchewan Health Authority is ramping that process up and designating the isolation site at Saskatchewan Hospital in North Battleford as the detainment center for those who have gone against public health orders. According to a 77-page document explaining the details of this program, a secure isolation site is defined as a locked facility in which persons issued a detention order under the Public Health Act are detained. They also state the site is neither a hospital nor a health center. Rather, it is a detention center with a mobile health clinic. Yet interestingly, as noted in an article done by 620 CKRM in Saskatoon, those who are transferred to this facility will not be called detainees, despite fitting that description. Rather, will be referred to as clients. Well, that sounds much nicer, doesn't it? To assist in this process, the government is putting together a team of mostly retired police officers to act as a COVID enforcement team. They will be responsible both for enforcing public health measures such as mask and vaccine mandates, as well as transporting citizens to the secure isolation site, whether for being rule breakers or refusing to self-isolate despite a medical health officer having deemed it necessary. So how much will this all cost? I have confirmed through a former RCMP officer, who wishes to remain anonymous for now, that emails are being sent to retired RCMP officers offering them Saskatchewan COVID enforcement positions. The proposed wage for such roles? $38 an hour. These are contract positions, but for a better idea on what that salary would look like annually, if you were assuming a 40-hour work week, it is approximately $79,000 a year. Similar COVID enforcement jobs at the national level, at airports and border crossings, for example, are paid between a level PM4 and PM6, which is about $70,000 to $114,000 per year. That's no small staffing budget and doesn't include administrative staff or facility costs. The 77-page project document outlines a few minor costs associated, but not a full budget. And remember, this is all at a cost to the taxpayers. Thus, I feel compelled to ask, could this money not have been spent on healthcare, such as ICU surge capacity, the expedient training of healthcare workers, etc., rather than punitive measures? Will this...
Yeah. But it's all for your health. It's all for your safety. Don't worry, you guys in Saskatchewan. Hospital used as a detainee center. Reminds me of the 1969 New World Order insider Dr. Day talking about how they would use hospitals for prisons. Now, this... Well, Washingtonians, you need to stop this. Even those of you who are gung-ho on the get that in your arm, you have to recognize you've got a dictator, and, a dictator doesn't really care about you. And eventually, you're going to feel the dictates. You know, everything that's taking place, and New York has had some pretty impressive protests of late. The numbers, more and more, coming out. And, every time I see these protests in our country, when we have the heroes of 2020 now protesting the vaccine mandate, I'm reminded of that poem. They came for the Unionists, but I was not a union member, so I did nothing. They came for the Communists, but I was not a communist, so I did nothing. You know that poem, right? They came for the Jews. I was not a Jew. I did nothing. Then they came for me. And, well, there was no one around. I was alone. That's not part of the poem, but, because they got rid of everybody. And, well, when I needed to protect myself, there was no one else around. Well, guess what? That's what's going on. And 2020, all the healthcare workers who are now pissed that they're having to face this mandate, all of the first responders, they're all out. But where were you 2020? You were heroes then. You know, I'm glad that people are finally waking up. But it does upset me that what finally motivates people to start fighting for their rights is when their rights are being taken away, not when somebody else's rights are taken away. Well, get it now. When you have your rights, what you feel is still protected, but somebody else's rights are being taken away, your rights will be taken away as well. You got to stop this. The other thing about Washington is, this is what I got. Now, I want to thank all of the subscribers for sending me information, but this, a family member from Washington, in response to my posts, just shared their personal text with me, which she received yesterday. Okay. Girls, I am really torn on sharing this because I feel sick about it. We have a close person in our family that is a whistleblower. He is digging into the COVID strike team in Washington, similar to what that woman was talking about going on in Saskatchewan, Canada. COVID strike team, hiring in Washington, and what it's all about. He passed his first interview this week. He has a second coming up, and this was a while ago, so I don't know about that second interview, but here were 2 questions he was asked in his first interview. How would you feel about having to restrain someone to give them a shot? 2, how would you feel about taking a child from their parents? We need to be digging into this and finding more information. I'd say so. Now, I think it was on Never Lose Truth 3. I posted a video, somebody in Washington, who posted a video on a campsite being built in Washington for none other than, those who are not going along with the agenda. This is very real. This is happening. And, just like what we're seeing in Australia, it is taking place here. Just like Australia, now the tyranny is taking place in Queensland and in Victoria and New South Wales, and all of the dictators, like Dan Andrews, your premiers, we've got our governors who, they get some pushback and they pull back. They go, oh, okay, like what's happening? I'm watching Sky News and I'm hearing about the rising cases in Victoria, and yet they gave you a Freedom Day. Yay, Freedom Day. You don't have freedom. Okay, but really? But that doesn't make any sense, Dan. It doesn't make any sense. Cases, you still, my God, in Australia, all you needed is one case and boom, lockdown. So you got many more cases and he's allowing some freedom for you. Now he's a good dictator. People better get hip to what's happening because, we're going to be living a life that we never, ever, ever lived before. I'm going to end this video because my cat is wanting my attention. But we who are older are going to die off. This is being left to the younger generations. And if you think that that is fair or moral to do, then you're the reason why we're living the nightmare that we're living. All private businesses. Now, you have to see this for what it is. A complete and utter, it's an abject stomping on all of your rights in Washington. It's coming to every state. So don't, sit back and be complacent and think, oh, well, I don't live in Washington. Doesn't matter. It's coming to all of us. So, and yeah, you guys in those left states, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. We're in big trouble all over the place. But there are some states that are not going as fast. Where the hell are you going to go if you want to quit your public sector job? You have nowhere to go now in Washington if this remains as it is. Nowhere. No employment for you. The links are below.